Hello everybody, it's Lazel here with a new video, and today I want to talk about the Mystic College and high technology. A lot of you guys are telling me that you have finally reached C30, have unlocked the Azure mine, and now you guys are considering what to do. I already made videos about high technology, Mystic College, or how to approach from C30 on, and today I want to go a bit more detailed into Mystic College and into the high technology. I will bring a few arguments for both of these ways of improvement, and I'd like to point out again that we are today talking about Azure focused investments. Alright, so let's get started. I still have the opinion that the high technology is something that players shouldn't do when you reach C30. I will try to focus the frontline a lot in this video, so I'd like to start off with Cavalry. So when you are C30, you are a Cavalry focused player. I personally would definitely recommend to keep improving your castle at least until C34. Yeah, this is going to be a tough time because you won't be researching the dodge skill, that is very important, but you have to see the long run in my opinion. This is why I would say you will go and rush your castle level to C34, 35, so you can also recruit those tier 11 angels, which is going to take a lot of time. And when you are doing that, or while you're doing that, let's say like recruiting tier 11 cavalry, which has a huge advantage over the tier 10 cavalry, and recruiting those angels, which takes a lot of time, while you're doing that, you can catch up with the Mystic College dodge skill. This is how I would approach the way. It is a very tough way because you will be cavalry focused. You will also start forging your gear for cavalry, but you won't have the minimum requirement of the dodge skill. But in my opinion, this will pay off in the long run because while you are recruiting tier 11 cavalry and tier 11 angels, for example, if you also decide to go for C35, you will end up, when you finish the dodge research, already with a high troop count of tier 11 cavalry. Now I'd like to talk about why I personally wouldn't do any high technology as a cavalry player. So, as we've just said, all of these researches require Azerit. So, and the first interesting research is the superior leadership level 1 or tier 1, where you get your limit of marching army increased. And after that you can decide between melee attack, ranged attack, melee HP and ranged HP, followed by some angel improvements. This is great, definitely. But when we come to cavalry, especially cavalry is a unit that is very heavily reliant on damage focused technology. So let's say like reduced damage for mages, damage reduction for cavalry, or also damage reduction for army. All of these technology improvements are very relevant for your cavalry to work. When you're coming up with technology improvements like, let's say, increase the HP of infantry and cavalry, yes, those are good and great improvements and you will need those. But they won't have that much of an impact as a damage related technology research, which is why I personally would keep investing my Azerit into a higher troop tier than into the high technology. Of course, at some point you will end up with, for example, the Elite Blade, which increases damage of troops during Elite War. But these improvements are event related. So it is a great improvement when we are talking about damage technology. Yes, awesome, but event related. And in Elite War, it very often happens that you play with a team. There are very few solo players in Elite War, especially in those high tier alliances, and you will be always averaging your technology, so you won't have that much impact of it at all anyways, which is why, or still a very valid argument in my opinion, to stay away from high technology. As a cavalry player, as I just said, I personally would rush to C34, 35, depending if you also want to work on your angels already. And then while you are recruiting, you can start researching the dodge mechanic. This is how I would approach it. And in addition to that, also another information. Let's look again into the high technology. Yes, you can work on increase the attack of your front line, increase the attack or increase the HP of your front line, increase the attack of your back line. All of that stuff, great. But never forget, by unlocking a higher troop tier, so let's say we look again into Cavalry, here we have tier 10 Cavalry with 1400 HP, and when we look at tier 11 Cavalry, we have an HP pool of 1800. So we are talking about more than 400 HP. Compared to tier 10, we are talking about roundabout more than 30% of HP. Of course, this step will take longer because you will have to do a lot of castle upgrades and barrack upgrades and all of that stuff. But we are talking about 30% more HP, roundabout. And in addition to that, you also unlock a new passive skill. And from the even to odd tier Cavalry, this skill is also better for attacking in my opinion, because reduced damage from archers by 25% has a higher impact in your front line than raise attack when you are attacking, because you want your front line to be defensive oriented and not offensive oriented. So just by working on a higher troop tier, we are talking about 30% more HP, and you can also reflect that onto all of the other stats, not just HP, attack, defense, and so on and so on. All of that applies to all different base stats. And in addition to that, when we are talking about Cavalry, you would also get reduced damage from archers by 25%. This improvement is huge, and this is also why, in my opinion, I wouldn't invest my Azeroth into high technology as a C30 or 31, let's say around that area. I would keep going for castle tier, as I just said, C34, C35, to start recruiting those better tier units, and then you can start to catch up with the Mystic College with the requirements of going for the dodge skill to make your cavalry even stronger and more playable and more consistent. This is how I think about cavalry when it comes to being a new C30 castle. And now we will have a talk about infantry as a C30 player. As an infantry player, you're kind of the opposite when it comes to the passive skill of your units. As even infantry player, you have better infantry for attacking because it reduces the damage from mages in any situation. The odd infantry sadly only raises its HP while you are defending. You're kind of always better set up with the even infantry tier while you are attacking. Here's also the same argument as with cavalry. When you compare the base stats, they are always better while you're working on a higher troop tier. They also give you an improvement in a percentage way, so don't miss out on that while arguing about whether to invest your Azeroth into better technology. For example, the best one for infantry is, in my opinion, here the melee HP, where you increase the HP of your frontline units by 1%. And as I just said, by working on a higher troop tier, you also get improvements done in a technology way just because you're raising the base stat of your unit. Especially for infantry, you don't have any mechanic like the dodge skill, for example, which is why the Mystic College isn't that important in my opinion as for cavalry. But we will also take a look into the stats. The acceleration skill increases the HP, and as I just said, when we are talking about base stat technology improvements, it's kind of not that relevant anymore. You are really looking for those damage related technology improvements, and when we are talking about that, the toughness skill catches our eye because infantry takes 4.5% less attack damage. So from every of the opponent's sources, your infantry takes less damage. It is damage reduction for your infantry. Very powerful, very strong, but in my opinion, not worth going for while you are a C30 castle. As a C30 castle, you still have a lot of things to do, and in my opinion, you should focus on higher troop tiers as an infantry player, just because of the fact of the basic improvements related to the base stats from the troop tiers that also give you a nice power boost. Also because of the fact that you can find reduced damage from mages, reduced damage from archers, or damage reduction for infantry, also in a lot of other things. For example, you have a lot of different zodiacs that will help you with these improvements to strengthen your damage technology when it comes to your infantry. The improvement of going for higher troop tiers is just big, as I just said earlier about the cavalry, where we are talking about 30% technology improvement of the HP pool, and we were only talking about one of those base stats. You can reflect that to all of the other base stats too. That in my opinion, it ain't worth to invest a lot of Azeroth to go for the acceleration skill until level 3, so you can work on the toughness skill. Back in the days when I was a maxed out C35 that was also capped with that, when we didn't have the C40 upgrade, I was doing that, and I was definitely willing to work on my infantry technology, and the toughness skill was my focus because it is very powerful, yes. But remember the way that you have to go and the investment that you have to do until you get to the first 4.5% of improvement. And that is a lot of Azeroth that you will have to invest into the acceleration skill. Sure, it ain't wasted because you work on the HP pool of your infantry. But we are in the situation that we are a new C30 and we need to decide what we want to go for. So the thing that I would do as a C30 is definitely keep working on my castle level, because there will be a lot of people going for higher castle levels, going for better troop tiers, and you will have a tough time against them. What I want to say is invest your Azeroth wisely and don't just rush into some early improvements, for example here in the high technology. Sure, it looks very attractive to only spend a few hundred Azeroth to increase your army size limit or to give you some nice and quick HP improvements. But this really adds up, and you will end up there sitting and being upgrades and castle levels behind, while other players unlock higher troop tiers that will give them, as I just said earlier, 30% more base HP, and you will be sitting there still weeks away from those upgrades, and you will be there and sitting, yeah, but I got 1% or 2% more HP in my front line. Great. They won't care because they have the base improvement from a higher troop tier. Of course, for example, things like the superior angel attack look very attractive because it is very hard to increase your angel attack. But try to see the whole picture and invest your Azeroth wisely, and in my opinion always first into your troop tiers until you reach, for example, C40, or as I explained for cavalry players, C34, C35, so you can work on a good and consistent troop, for example tier 11 cavalry. Then you can catch up with the dodge skill. But in my opinion, the goal should be to rush C40 as fast as possible. And just because you ain't investing Azeroth into your technology or investing Azeroth for technology, it doesn't mean that your technology won't get any better. There are a lot of different ways how you can improve your technology. For example, remember to always do your royal challenge. Play every event you can find, so you can work on emblems or you can work on enhancements that you can put on all of your different gear parts. For example, here on the boots, damage taken reduced when attacking is, in my opinion, the best enhancement that you can get on your boots, and we are talking about a damage related technology. Also, always spend your birthstone crystals wisely in the star palace, so you can work on zodiacs that also give you nice improvements. Damage related technology is currently the thing to go. Of course, you shouldn't miss out on the base attack and base HP and also defense, but overall damage is the way to go. Just because you ain't investing Azeroth into your technology, it doesn't mean your technology is bad or behind. There will be a lot of players that will tell you, yeah, you need to do some high technology or work on your Mystic College, and it ain't a bad thing, but this will have a fast impact and you will see the effect of it, in my opinion, mostly from the Mystic College and not from the high technology. Overall, I think that going for a higher castle level will have a bigger impact for you in the long run, because you will also be able to recruit those higher troop tiers way faster. Also because the recruitment times won't get shorter and you will need to invest a lot of time into recruiting troops. And so you will profit from the time as early as you get there possible. Then you can work on your technology researches while you are already recruiting tier 11 cavalry, for example. And now I would say let's make a quick summary about this video. C30 should focus on getting to C34, C35 as fast as possible. Invest your Azeroth in there. Then you can start to recruit tier 11 cavalry, which is just great. Also for higher castle levels, they can be promoted to tier 13 at some point or used in a secondary formation nicely. So rush there. Then you can do your dodge research and maybe also 1 or 2 levels into Savage Impact just to have it unlocked. And then focus all of your Azeroth again into your castle level to get higher troop tiers unlocked. For infantry, I personally would say keep rushing until level C40, and on the way always have an eye on damage related technology improvements where you can make sure to reduce the damage that your infantry is taking. And when you've reached C40, and then you can start investing your Azeroth into more technology related things, I think then I would definitely go for the Mystic College to work on the toughness skill as fast as possible. I think it ends up with roundabout, I think 18 or 20% damage reduction for infantry, which is just great. But it is a very long way until then, until you have gathered all of that Azeroth. And the latest thing that I would do is have an eye on any high technology. Of course, the early superior angel attack is great for your angels, but there are a lot of things in here that can easily be done with other technology related improvements. For example, the melee attack level 1, you can get frontline attack from so many different things, and I personally wouldn't invest Azeroth into it on such an early castle level. And when you have reached the end game, you can take a look into high technology, but I would always prioritize Mystic College first. Alright guys, these were some thoughts of mine about what to do when you have reached C30, and if you want to do Mystic College or high technology. I think the message is very clear of mine to go for higher castle levels first, but cavalry players should take a look at the dodge mechanic at level C34, C35 at some point, just to make sure they play very efficient with cavalry, and the dodge mechanic is very important for that. Then infantry players, in my opinion, rush for C30 as fast as possible. Alright guys, let me know what you think about approaching high technology in Mystic College, at which state of castle level or at what point after C30. And then I would say, see you in the next video. Goodbye guys.